A very good morning to you and welcome to the AM News Live here on Gntv with me, Bryce Nakwasi Amaning, coming to you live from our studios inside number 10 and Park Street here in Asalam Dan Accra in Ghana, West Africa. And I'm going straight into our first story for the morning, where the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE, has commenced the second phase of the 2018 Citizenship Week. The second phase focuses on environmental governance with the theme, The Environment and You. Resource persons have been touring schools and to advise children on what exactly they're supposed to do as citizens to protect the country. Let's take a look.
And volunteers visit over 10,000 basic schools across the country, targeting 2 million pupils nationwide. The National Commission for Civic Education is collaborating with the Environmental Protection Agency with support from the European Union. It is important to note that NCCE's education on the environment stems from the EU's Accountability, Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program (ARAP). As part of the ARAP program, environmental governance is expected to be highlighted to remind all Ghanaians of their constitutional duty, thus to respect, protect and safeguard the environment. GNTV's Bright Nanakwesi Amaning was a resource person to the Odoko Salaria 1 Basic School.
I think the National Commission for Civic Education needs a lot of resources, because trust me, this is a good thing they are doing. But if they are not having the resource to do it, it could be funding, it could be personnel, it's going to be cost 90. If they are to be provided with the necessary things, it will be massive. And trust me, we are going to have kids who are going to grow into better future leaders. Nobody told me that he or she wants to be an armed robber. Or nobody told me he or she wants to be any other bad thing. Everyone want to be either a president, a minister, an MP, or any other thing. That is that comes with weight. It carries weight. So you can imagine if you're having this thing done almost monthly. You can imagine what is going to be fed to these kids. Amazing.
Students who participated in the event told GNTV what they expect from government.
I learned that we should pay our tax very well. We should pay our tax regularly. I learned that we should be proud to say what we want to do in future. Maybe I want to be a lawyer. I have to stand firm and say that I want to be a lawyer.
What I learned from the NCC is that as a Ghanaian, to be patriotic, you have to tell people to do the right thing. As a Ghanaian, you have to, if somebody is doing the wrong thing or throwing rubbish into gutters, you have to tell the person to stop. Otherwise, if the gutters are choked and the liquid cannot pass through, it can cause diseases for us. So, when sometimes we go to the health hospital, the health insurance, some of them does not work. My health insurance has expired, but my mother said you don't have the money to go and renew it. So I want to tell all Ghanaians that they should do what is best for the country, so that if the country go on, they will say it is the Ghanaians and the president who have made the country go on.
I learned that we should perform our civic responsibility and also be patriotic. We should be proud that we are Ghanaians, because the peace we are having in Ghana, many countries don't have that. And we should be proud that we are Ghanaians, and also we should keep our environment clean. When we see somebody littering the environment, we should advise the person to stop littering their environment, and also tell our parents to pay their taxes.
The NCCE is committed to rolling out a national education on sanitation, especially in an era where poor sanitation practices have become the norm. Again, indiscriminate littering of the environment with plastic waste remains a national concern. NCCE's 2018 Citizenship Week will therefore provide a bigger platform for well-meaning Ghanaians, serving as volunteers to sensitize the citizenry on proper environmental practices for a clean and healthy Ghana.
And so kudos to the National Commission for Civic Education on this good initiative. Now, away from that, onto other issues, where a suspended High Court Justice from the previous announced investigation judicial piece, Lawyer Papu Samoa Ado, has questioned the recent investigative work from Anas Anas on the Ghana Football Association. According to him, it was wrong for Anas to have recorded these personalities without their consent. But a BBC-trained investigative journalist, Esther A. Ama, believes that was the only way he could get the information he needed, thus is accepted in investigative journalism.
Throughout history, journalism, especially investigative ones, has been at the heart of many honest and high-functioning democracies. With Ghana's democracy still young and buzzing with a brighter future, it is imperative to acknowledge any effort by a journalist who intends to expose unscrupulous office holders, be it politics, public or private, for the benefit of the nation. But it seems not everyone is happy about the works of investigative journalist Anas Arimio Anas after he outdoored his latest work on the Ghana Football Association. According to a suspended High Court justice from Anas's judicial investigative piece, lawyer Nick Wakpo Samuado, it was wrong for Anas to have recorded these personalities without their consent.
The person's image, the person's voice are personal properties of the person. So you can't, for example, you can't say that you've conducted an interview with me when I haven't given you my consent, because you would have to capture my image, you would have to capture my voice, and you seek to play it out there. Now, if I didn't grant you the interview and you illegally use my voice and my image outside a public event like what we have done, I have a recourse to come after you, because I didn't give you my consent and you purported to have interviewed me and recorded my voice and my image without my consent.
BBC-trained investigative journalist Esther A. Ama, on the other hand, establishes that the methodology used by Anas to cripple those caught on camera is accepted in investigative journalism.
Mr. Nyantichi has rightly said there's no evidence, bring me the evidence. And Nas brought the evidence. Now, we are right to interrogate the methods, but we should interrogate them understanding the context in which people do their critique. So when a lawyer says this would not stand up in a court of law, he's right. But it wasn't for a court of law. A lawyer will tell you it was entrapment. A journalist will tell you it was undercover filming. We are both right.
One of the aftermaths of the premiering of Anas's expose was the resignation of the GFA president, Kwesi Nyantichi. Nyantichi, who has been the GFA president since December 2005, resigned from the position less than 24 hours after the premiere.
And so discussions on what exactly is contained in the Anas expose is still ongoing as to if the methodology used by him to grab at this person's in the investigative piece is right or wrong, still giving details as to what exactly is happening. Now, away from that, on to other quarters where the National Identification Authority, NIA, has clarified its identification scope for the Ghana card registration, saying persons without passport and birth certificates could get relatives who will stand in as guarantors during the registration process. Now, the public relations officer for the NIA, Francis Powdemiti, clarified the issue.
This clarification is expected to allay the fears of the opposition National Democratic Congress (NDC) that over 20 million Ghanaians could be disenfranchised if the NIA sticks to its current mode of registration, which according to the party only recognizes passports and birth certificates for identification. Public Relations Officer for the NIA, Francis Paldudetti, said persons who don't have these will need a resident who has already registered to vouch for them or two other persons who will testify for them under oath. The NIA will under no circumstance want to exclude eligible people from the registration process. Over 2,700 personnel are being trained by the judiciary to administer oaths and certify Ghanaians without the required identification. The former president, John Dramani Mahama, and the minority in parliament had earlier raised concerns over the criteria announced by the NIA for the registration, saying it could denationalize over 20 million Ghanaians. The issuance of a national identification ID card is among the government's key promises to formalize the country's economy. Under the National Democratic Congress (NDC) government in 2009, the NIA began the process to register and issue the national ID card to all Ghanaians.
And so still staying with the issue of the national identification card, where the minority in parliament has reaffirmed its decision to seek legal redress over the instance of the National Identification Authority NIA not to accept the voters ID card as one of the national identities for the Ghana card registration exercise. At a press briefing in parliament, the minority leader Honorable Haruna Idrisu said until the matter is legally resolved, they would not take part in the exercise.
We are a very responsible minority. We owe the people of Ghana a certain explanation as to a major national exercise that is taking place without our input. We will maintain a boycott of the exercise until some legal issues are resolved to the satisfaction of all Ghanaians. Legitimately, the idea of a national identity system remains a national imperative and a necessity. However, in Ghana, we all know that today, as I speak to you, only 2 million Ghanaians have passports and only 7 million Ghanaians have birth certificates. It means that only 7 million are being considered for this exercise, having listened to the Chief Executive of the National Identification Authority, where he indicated strongly that only the passport and the birth certificate will be required for purpose of registration. It is our strong view that the voter ID card, which produced a government, at least it produced a government of President Kufuor, President Rawlings, Nana Addo Dankwa, is a legitimate reference document, even referencing Supreme Court rulings on that matter. But that has been excluded in the law, but part of the legislative instrument which drive its strength from the Parent Act. We are of the strong belief that this exercise must be all-inclusive. Therefore, our boycott is to ensure that there is no denial, I repeat, there is no denial of legitimate Ghanaian citizens having their due to be part of a national identification system.
We're live here on Gntv with the AM News, live from our studios on number 10 and Bush Street here in Slamdon, Accra, Ghana. We are live on YouTube at GNTVGH, and also you can catch us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram at GNTVGH. We are back with more stories after this turn. Let's do this.
In the future, every child, man, woman, in every corner of the world will be connected. Anything that you want to know will be available at the snap of a finger. The future brings endless possibilities, but we must never forget who we are, Ghanaians. Now, who is excited about the future?
The future is here. Experience the all-new GN Electronics Smart TV. Experience international quality assembled right here in Ghana. For more information, contact 050-144-9465. GN Electronics. Good quality comes from home.
There's more to life than where one begins, and which is George Weah.
I'm not setting up.
His presidency would mark the first time Be a good boy, be a good girl.
How did you muster the courage to call Mrs. Indu to tell her we lost or have lost £2 billion?
And still attracts me to Pastor Toby.
You know, all the stories about me and being in business, this was the worst.
Welcome back. Now, available statistics on reproductive, maternal, newborn child, adolescent health and nutrition situations have showed a downward trend in the total fatality rate in the country. According to Director of Family Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick K. Abuaje has stated that anemia among pregnant women and young adolescent girls are still high, attributing it to the regional disparities in their nutritional status. He spoke to Gntv at the sidelines of the National Maternal Child Health and Nutrition MCHN conference, which opened in Accra on Tuesday.
The maiden edition of the National Maternal Child Health and Nutrition Conference, which opened on Tuesday, June 12, 2018, is to map out strategies to decrease disparities in health service delivery and increase universal health coverage by ensuring accountability. The three-day conference, which also seeks to create a platform to increase partner involvement and knowledge sharing, is on the theme strengthening partnerships for achieving universal health coverage in reproductive, maternal, child, adolescent health and nutrition.
The conference is about maternal, child health and nutrition conference, and the theme is strengthening partnership for reaching universal health coverage through maternal, newborn, child health, adolescent and nutrition services. This is a very, very major priority area in the country. This is an area where we are losing mothers and we are losing children and newborn. But there are many, many practices that are happening in the country that we don't know. So we are creating a platform for all our partners, region, districts to come and share best practices, learn lessons so that we can scale up.
Director of Family Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick K. Abuaje explained that progress had been made to screen about 300,000 schoolgirls and administer iron supplement to address the challenge of the anemia among pregnant women and young adolescent girls, which are still high. On maternal mortality, he said institutional maternal mortality was also still high and called for the establishment of regional model health facilities to provide comprehensive care, including immediate blood transfusion, to save the lives of pregnant women referred from the primary health care level.
Because one of the challenges we know about this area is that we know what to do, we know when to do it, we need to learn more about the how. And so we are sharing best practice where it has worked so that we can scale up quickly, and that's one of the efforts that we're going to do annually to ensure that we share practices and accelerate improvement in the way we do things and how we can quickly reduce maternal, newborn and child mortality.
He called for the development of the accompanying legal frameworks to make the nutritional policy more functional, and also strengthening programs to reach out to the unreached population, including adolescents with family planning needs. He said to achieve universal health coverage as stated in the Target 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals, there must be a deliberate and sustained effort to invest in maternal and child health, which presented both short and long-term benefits vital, to the development of the country.
And prices of cocoa on the international market have begun to tumble due to investors' expectation of an imminent increase in production from top growing countries Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. with both countries recently forming a joint cocoa committee. Economic analyst at Data Bank, Mr. Courage Kwesi Boti, advised the committee to come up with strategies to control the release of volumes of cocoa beans onto the global market.
According to the head of public affairs at Cocoa Board, Noah Amenya, stated that the board is implementing a mix of strategies such as slowing down the sale of cocoa when prices tumble. The price of cocoa, according to the International Cocoa Organization, (ICO), has dropped by about 18% in the last 6 weeks, from over $2,700 on May 1st, 2018 to over $2,300 as at June 11, 2018. Mr. Amenya added that Cocoa Board is committed to ensuring that revenue from cocoa is sustained to support government's revenue mobilization agenda. Mr. Amenya assured that Cocoa Board was employing tested strategies like forward selling and spot selling to maximize earnings from the commodity. Apart from the above-mentioned strategies, Mr. Amenya explained that his outfit was looking at ways to build demand for cocoa by developing new markets for the commodity and also boosting local demand and patronage.
And so the wait is over. Almost all teams have arrived in Russia for the 2018 FIFA World Cup this year. And the most talk about in town is the Nigerian outfit as the Super Eagles touch base in Moscow, and actually their lovely green and white jersey. And so we'll be giving more details what exactly will be happening in this year's FIFA World Cup, with the sports team coming in and giving us exactly what we have to expect. Matilda Jumedo and Abdul Jalilu will be giving us more details of that. And so we'll be taking a look into what exactly will be happening in Russia in 2018 this year as the World Cup goes underway. We'll now take a look on an international front. On the international front this morning, where the International Criminal Court (ICC) is to launch an assistance fund for victims in the Central African Republic of militia ones run by the former Democratic Republic of Congo Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba. The announcement of a for $1.2 million fund comes after the release of Mr. Bemba, whose conviction on war crimes charges was overturned by the court.
Bemba, 55, has been in the International Criminal Court (ICC) detention center since his arrest in 2008. The Democratic Republic of Congo's opposition leader was convicted in 2016 of crimes against humanity and sentenced to 18 years in prison. But that conviction was overturned on appeal last Friday, June 8, 2018, in a major setback for prosecutors. Appeals judges said that they could not pin responsibility on Bemba for the killing and raping of civilians by soldiers under his command. He was the highest-ranking official among only 4 people who had successfully been prosecuted at the Permanent War Crimes Court since it was set up in 2002. Normally, suspects are immediately released after an acquittal, but Bemba also faces sentencing for a separate charge for witness tampering during the trial, which could result in a maximum 5-year jail term. The charge for tampering was brought in November 2013, and prosecutors said that Bemba should remain in custody until a final sentence is issued in that case.
And U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says he hopes to see a major disarmament by North Korea by the end of 2020. His comments come a day after an unprecedented meeting between President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Singapore.
They reached a short agreement to work toward complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. But the document has been criticized for lacking details on when or how Pyongyang would give up its weapons. Speaking in South Korea, where he discussed the outcome of the summit, Secretary Pompeo said there was still a great deal of work to do with North Korea. He added that they are hopeful to achieve the major disarmament in 2.5 years. According to him, he was confident Pyongyang understood the need for in-depth verification that it was dismantling its nuclear program. It comes after President Trump declared North Korea was no longer a nuclear threat, insisting everybody can now feel much safer. The credibility of that claim is in doubt. That is because under the deal, the North retains its nuclear warheads, the missiles to launch them, and has not agreed to any specific processes to get rid of them.
And so that's all for the news this morning. But before I go, the 2016 World Cup will be held in the United States, Canada and Mexico after their joint bid beat Morocco's proposal to host it. The United 2016-2026 bid was selected by FIFA member nations, winning 134 votes compared to 65 of Morocco. The 2026 tournament will be the biggest World Cup ever held, with 48 teams playing 80 matches over 34 days. And so that's all for the news this morning here on Gntv with me, Bryce, and Kwesi Amaning. We've been live from our studios inside number 10 and Newport Street here in Assalam Dan Accra, Ghana, in West Africa. Have a good morning.